Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, the party was scouring the depths of Black Harbor. They had gone across the streets to some extent, out in the surface areas, checked out an inn at one point, but the more interesting part might have been when they went to the black market. Had to be led there by a random gentleman who seemed to be very nice and trustworthy, and
100%.
led them through these somewhat complicated and apparently in another realm market where Karash found an item of some interest. They were able to trade one of the things that had been given to them by Aurelia for it. Hopefully that doesn't come back somehow. And now they have this whole thing where Karash has an intelligence of 19. If you missed that, you should really go check out the episode. It's kind of fun.
Unfortunately, the person role-playing him does not. So let's see how this works out.
Yeah, now there's no excuse anymore now. So, after their escapades across the city, kind of buying time until the evening when there was an arranged dinner planned, the group made their way back to the keep, and everything was looking wonderful. They had a chance to clean up a bit, whether that was their armor and weapons or to change into something more suitable for a elegant dinner party. They came into the hallway out in front of the dining hall, trying to look as suave as possible, rolled like shit, and as a result, looked nice still, good. They didn't like trip over each other, but it wasn't really the big group scene they were hoping for. Like the Avengers when it pans around in a circle, it was not that.
Yeah, no.
So, you guys are invited into the dining hall. There is staff there to basically wait on your needs, to attend to your every desire if you so see fit. And they basically escort you into the dining hall. They individually will pull back a chair for you so that you can sit down. You're all kind of seated along one side of this elongated table with a lot more candlesticks than should be necessary lit. Tapestry sort of draped across the edge. Very nice looking. And if there is a horror story you can think of as far as like a Miss Manners, what the fuck does this seventh fork do specifically? That's what is set up here. There's a series of forks that descend in size lined up on one side, a couple of spoons and a knife on the other, a few different glasses lined up. This is very much like a fine dining experience in a way that a couple of you have never really experienced.
Am I sitting next to Karash?
They essentially just invite you to come over, but there's not assigned seating, so they'll just pull back a chair however you would like to arrange yourself.
Oh, shit. I want to sit next to Karash.
Yeah, what's the party order now? This is important.
In general,
no
Tessian, you are certainly free to take any seat you want, but you would probably take the seat furthest towards the head of the table, both because of your stature and because it's closer to your mother, and presumably at least one of your sisters is coming to this, so...
And then it makes sense for Lena to be next to Tessian.
Yeah.
So then,
Tessian, Lena, me, Karash, or Karash, and then me at the end. We can put me at the end, and I'll be sitting next to some schmuck noble. That sounds fine.
just like at the trial.
Yeah.
We're the worst mingling ever. Oh, God.
No, Tessian.
It was inevitable.
So while Jason gets that fixed, or not, maybe it won't get fixed, I'm going to ask Karash, does your headband come with etiquette built in, or are you as lost as I am?
My circlet appears to have granted me the ability to connect dots that I otherwise would not have been able to, but unfortunately, as I've never read anything on etiquette, I have no freaking clue what's happening.
Because my first assumption is that the latter forks are here in case you break the first forks, like if we're eating lobster or something. But the more I think about it, the more I remember from my own childhood that that's a stupid thing to think. So I guess I'm just stupid.
Well, what makes sense from the position of the people who would be setting out the place setting? Everything needs to look nice, right? So you probably don't jump around. You probably start at one end or the other.
Is every bite a new fork?
And
I'm kind of teasing him, but I'm also I have no clue. I feel like we did not go this fancy in Timberbrook.
I'm also wondering how fancy was it in the Sowenwood?
Oh, not that fancy.
Okay, so I'm also
now, you guys
kind of
aren't like
lost.
eating with your hands off the ground. I mean, there are, especially given your stature, there were some nice but like this is very much like haute couture
Okay.
in a way that it's not foreign per se. Again, you're not exactly sure why there are 6 forks, but you're like, oh, okay, like you get this elaborate place setting out, and it's meant for like these nicer occasions.
I like how Chris put this out as like a meaningless kind of detail, and we're like, okay, 7 forks. Let's focus on that. Tessie, and I'm just making sure that you're still here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, last time we had no video for a bit.
That's what
but
I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great because this is his arc, so it's a tremendous time for Skype to be doing this.
Hey, it is the theater of the mind now.
Exactly,
Truly.
guys. You know, back in my day, that's not.
Tessian, ashamed to be in front of his family, has used a disguise kit on himself.
So are we like the first people here, or like?
Yeah, so as you've been seated,
Oh, I
you
hate
came
it.
back to the castle ahead of time. And nice, there he is. There, now he's seated. He fell down, the chair was pulled back too far, the staff's pulling a prank on him because they know Tessian so well.
I'm sure I'll die again anyway, guys.
It's fine. We'll cherish it while it lasts. Yes, you were excuse me, you were the first ones invited in. It does seem, just from the places that have been put out, that this is going to be a more intimate affair. There are only 3 other places set. 2 across from you on the table and 1 at the head. So it's kind of imbalanced. You guys dominate one side of the table because there's 2 more of you than on the other side. But that leaves this expanse of the table on the far side that's basically uncovered. I mean, there's a handful of decorations and the like, but there's no additional plates set.
Chris, for what it's worth, on the Red Wedding insight check, I am very paranoid about all of this. So if that gives me some kind of, insight, then...
Unfortunately, I don't know much about the Red Wedding because I've only watched the first 2 and the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. It was strange, I admit. But I do know that Joffrey gets fucked. So
That's not at the Red Wedding. That's
that
the
not where he
Purple
dies?
Wedding.
oh,
That is a different wedding.
okay. Well, see, at least I understand my confusion.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, both weddings end with dead people.
Yeah.
see.
The Purple Wedding and then the Red
Well,
Wedding.
this is just a dinner. This is not a
no
wedding.
one's getting married.
Yeah.
We're fine.
That you
Okay,
know
but if
of.
I see a pregnant woman come in, I'm going to the door.
I
I don't
will-
need to see this, first of all.
I will note your passive perception is being deployed for the sake of
Thank you.
conspiracy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make a perception. No, I'm just kidding. Since you brought it up.
Comes in, I'm gonna be surprised because only my family's showing up. Last I checked, no one was pregnant. So
Well, you have been gone for 6
Exactly.
months. I'm just saying.
Damn. It's plenty of time. And the
Mhm.
kid is yours. Oh, no,
That's
wait.
a baby
weird.
bump.
You haven't been here, but your sperm is so virile that from across the continent, the miracle
with
has
my
happened.
family, with my
Yeah,
family.
that was
Yeah.
really the part that I was like,
Okay.
oh, I see what I'm
Well, I mean, we're gonna make
We're
Game
not
of Thrones
going
parallels.
that. We're not going that far into Game of Thrones.
If we're gonna embrace Game of Thrones, you might as well fuck your cousin or something. I mean, anyways, so yes, you are the first ones in. The staff seats you. One of them tells you it'll just be another few minutes. You are a bit early, having gone back to the castle in advance to get cleaned up and the like. So it's not like they're running late. It's just you've gotten there a few minutes early and now have this much too large room at this much too large table to yourself for a couple of minutes. If you have any way to kill the time, and if not, we'll just fast forward. But there might be things to talk about. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm totally gonna grab one of the members of the staff and ask them basics of etiquette, like the forks and whatnot.
Make a persuasion check.
I'm not terrible at this.
I need to be doing more of these. Let's take this opportunity.
Can I do a where are my glasses check? Because I can't see for 10. Oh my god.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say, can I do an intimidate check? And I'm like, I guess if you want to.
I rolled a 2. It's just that I have a +8 that saved that. Oh god.
You're gonna tell me where this fork goes.
What the fuck is this 5th fork? 10, despite the 2, is decent still, and certainly enough when it's in a malleable social setting to kind of have somebody pull aside. And while they seem to be busy still getting things prepared, they're happy to take 30 seconds to kind of whisper in earshot for you, and I guess Isaac, since he's next to you. So they're like, yeah, so you start from the right and then move your way across, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's for people who like this sort of thing. It's meant so they can embrace the culture, but you can use however many forks you like with whatever part of the meal suits you.
Yeah. But
Don't
Seems
believe
like it's
him,
purely
Karash.
ornamentation.
Karash, I think he's lying to you. He wants to set you up to look like a fool. They don't put out 7 forks just so you can do whatever you want. But I just
But do
whisper
you-
that to him.
Do you know what they're supposed to be for?
No, I don't.
Then
But I'm
make a
desperate.
decision.
Maybe my future wife will sit next to me and I can ask her, and in 20 years we'll look back in a loving way and think about how funny it was that I asked her about forks, and that was our first conversation.
Ah, yes, the old willful ignorance on the off chance that it'll score you a girl. Tale as old
Well,
as
you
time.
put it so crudely, Tessie.
As you guys are having this conversation, there's a voice that calls out by the entrance that you came in. It says, "Presenting Crown Princess Tyrese Amalia Stormlord the 13th." And even as they are opening the doors, a familiar to you, Isaac, from your brief glimpse, and certainly familiar to you, Tessian, young girl comes bounding into the room before they can even have the doors all the way open. Like she's not waiting for them to be wide enough. She's like practically squeezing through, and she immediately bounds around the table and like tackles Tessian. Not out of the chair, but you know.
Aw.
And Tessian hugs her back, and he's just, Molly, it's so good to see you.
And for the rest of you who were not accosted by her briefly in the hallway before this, just to repeat it, looks a teenage-looking girl, 15, 16, somewhere thereabouts. Really long, flowing white hair, fair skin, teal blue eyes. Even from your limited experience, because you've only met Tessian's mother the once before this, she looks a lot like a younger version of her mother. A few differences between them, but for the most part, it's kind of uncanny. You can quickly see, like, oh, that's probably why she's next in line, yeah, because she looks like the current ruler of Black Harbor. And then in response to what you said, Tessian, she says, "I'm expecting so many stories."
Of course. Well, here, let me. And Tessian kind of like tries to like turn the chair a little bit and introduce everyone. This is Lena Silvaquist. This is oh God, Viserion Karash. This is Isaac Dryden. And these are my companions. I've been traveling with them for some time now. To even begin, I'm not even sure. I'm sure we'll talk about some of it over dinner, but. Yes, everyone, this is my younger sister, Amalia.
I nod and I say, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Amalia. I've heard stories."
I've heard stories too, but if I'm being honest, Tessian, I would like more details in your letters to Mother. They're somewhat lacking. I want to know about the places you've been, the things you've seen. You've had a chance to travel so much the last 6 months or so. I want to know everything.
Of course. In fact, we've even been keeping a bit of a detailed record, in fact, for, experts in the field, archaeology and such, back at one of the academies. We've got all kinds of information. I was just not, I wasn't privy to sharing everything over, let's just say that there are a number of people that are opposing us in some of our more recent endeavors. So, hope you understand. But everything, we can tell you everything once we get the time.
She does kind of seem starry-eyed as she's looking at the rest of the group. It seems as though she's gotten at this point, third-hand account of the rest of you, from Tessian's letters through their mother to her now. But seemingly having the chance to meet you in person, she's just like over the moon about it.
Aw.
So you can see she's kind of like perched on the arms of Tessian's chair, but she's kind of looking at everybody else like she wants to ask more questions, but she also knows she'll probably get scolded if she does. So she's just kind of like tapping her foot on the ground impatiently as another voice rings out from the entryway. It says, "Presenting Princess Tara Angeline Black the Fifth." And a woman you have not seen before enters the room. Unlike Amalia, who is also dressed for the occasion, the woman who walks in next looks stern, but not in a mean way, just sort of a no business way, no funny business way. Maybe mid to late 20s. Brown hair that's up in a ponytail. Still that kind of same light skin. Green eyes, though. And she is wearing a breastplate and a mantle with dark feathers on it. You can also see that she has a bow strapped to her back. Looks pretty long, ornate. And she walks into the room and looks at your way first, Tessian. Says, "I've heard some of what's happened, but it is good to see you well, Tessian."
And you too, Angeline. We actually have a great deal that we'd like to discuss with you involving our current quest of sorts. I'm looking forward to it. It's good to see you well.
She kind of strides across the room, but does not head to your side and tackle/kill you. Just kind of heads to her seat, pulls it out herself. Because one of the help tries to come over, she brushes them away. She's like, no, I don't need this shit. Takes her seat. You can still see, for the rest of you, like there is a certain air and refinement to her movements and all. Like it's not like she is crass. It's just she's kind of no nonsense about everything. And as she's kind of seating herself, she says, "My apologies for not being able to stay for too long." As Tessian vanishes again.
As is, tradition.
She says, "Ah, that was fast. The Grey Knights keep me busy, but I was going to try and stop by no matter what, and when Mother said you had questions for me as well, I wanted to make sure I set aside time, so I will at least stay for the meal. I can't guarantee much for after."
Well, we'll take any amount of your time that you can give. Time is of the essence for all of us, and we'll take just any guidance. To be honest, we're working off a bit of nothing. To be frank, it's new territory. We can discuss it later, I suppose. I don't want to overburden you before the meal.
She nods. She says, "I'll be happy to help however I can. I hope it's enough, but it's nice to be able to contribute something, I suppose." And there's a voice from the entryway. Because I didn't really count on the fact that it was going to be so annoying to do this 3 times, but it's where we are now. It's fine. It's fine. You know, sometimes you think of something and it doesn't matter. I don't want to do the voice again, so the hell with it, but they introduce Lady Tyrese, Cassandra Stormlord the 12th.
And while they're doing that, I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna happen every time.
And you basically at this point already met Tessian's mother, but she strides into the room looking as elegant as ever and with the air of someone who is clearly used to this type of thing. Again, it's not to say anybody else in this that has come in so far isn't, but like dinners with important people seem to be a regular occurrence. And I feel like this came up last time to some extent, but the hell with it. Like, one of the things she's been doing, maybe Tessian's mentioned it, or she did, I forget, but is like she has, more than previous leaders in Black Harbor, tried to reach out to other parts of the continent, other leaders, to form these new partnerships and relationships so that Black Harbor isn't so isolated on this part of the continent away from the rest of Aramea. So it stands to reason that that's part of why she's kind of like, yep, this is, you know, pretty normal for me. You guys are like, what the hell are these forks? And she's like, yep, it's a Tuesday night. What are you going to do? She strides into the room, kind of gives each of you a little nod, like almost a quarter curtsy and a nod as she passes, and in her long blue robes is just sort of like gliding across the ground. The only other person that you've seen with this sort of refinement is the Duchess and Harnstead. Someone else who seemed tied to the more high society ways of life. Seems like a natural fit for Lady Tyrese as well. She allows someone to pull the chair back, is seated at the head. They push the chair in for her. And immediately you can see a couple of the people who are who were helping you as you came into the room and seating you and answering the questions for Karash. They all start to head off into the side room, and judging from the smells coming in that direction, which Isaac picks up on because of his passive perception, smells like a lot of different scrumptious things coming from that direction.
Do they smell like poison?
I can't be sure.
I don't know. How familiar are you with the smell of poison?
I am like the guy from Princess Bride. I built up my immunity over years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cane
very.
The guy? You don't even know his name?
His name is Carrie Yules.
Wow.
What a
Close.
Weird that I know the
shame.
actor's
Close.
name and not the
I take
fucking
it back.
character's name.
I was annoyed, and now I'm actually more impressed because I would have never pulled that.
I only would have because of Psych, because he shows up several times in there. As this hustle and bustle is kind of happening around you, Lady Tyrese kind of addresses the group. She says, I thank you all for coming. It's a bit short notice, so I apologize, but I think you'll still find that we have some nice food to offer, and it is good to have all my children at home at once. And she's kind of looking at the three of you. It's a bit... She gives you kind of this... Her brow furrows ever so slightly, not in like a bad way. She's kind of like, She says, it has been some time. As you all get older, I feel like this will be harder and harder to do on occasion. At this point, the help starts bringing out appetizers. There's bloomin' onions. No, I'm just kidding.
Hell yeah.
You know how you go to Red Robin and there's just like the onion rings on a tower?
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like that.
We have
like-
a lot of delicacies in Black Harbor.
Yes.
The bloomin' onion is definitely
Yes.
high on the list.
They have like
Can I get-
fucking endless chips too.
Mm-hmm. And salsa and guac.
Can I get an egg on my burger? Because I'm always down for that.
You absolutely cannot. That is way too upper crust.
Ugh.
But fancier stuff like fondue, pate, a couple things you don't even recognize, things that none of you have ever eaten before. Looks like some kind of vegetable medley of sorts.
Sweet. I'm definitely going to attack that.
Hmm. Yeah, there is something for everyone, even you.
Even me.
Tessian's grabbing like the long thin fork and like getting the stuff to dip it in the little fondue and
Having
I'm not eating any of it. I'm just looking. I'm
Mhm.
paranoid. I don't think it's poison, but I'm afraid with it being the Tessian Black family that there's going to be like something's going to make me susceptible to suggestion or something like that. I'm going to agree to something that I don't want. That's what I'm afraid of.
okay.
your opinion of my family is terrible.
So I'm just going to have a flask of water.
Your dad is an actual terrorist person.
Well, yeah, but that's
was
why I'm
on
even
trial.
more nervous. I can't trust anyone. My own dad is against me.
My family's over here offering you fondue, and you're like, my flask of water's okay.
I don't trust fondue.
Your mother fills her plate with a reasonable amount. She's not like stuffing it. Has to scold Amalia to use her utensils at one point because she's trying to use her fingers and that doesn't fly. And after everybody's had a chance to at least get this first bit of food and fill their plates a bit, she's kind of like bridges her fingers and just kind of leans forward in her chair and she says, well, I will defer to you. Would you prefer to ask me some additional questions about things in the area? Any more information I might have? Or would you like to talk to Angeline first and get more from her and go from there? We're all sort of on the clock, but some of you more than others, so I suppose I'll let you decide how we proceed.
Well, Mother, you'd mentioned something about the recent going-ons here in Black Harbor. Is there anything that I need to be aware of, or?
What did you see when you were out in the city? Did it feel different in any way than when you were last here?
Gosh, no, I don't. I mean, I'll be honest, it felt like home, but I have been away for some time. I suppose anything would feel like home.
I suppose, given that it's been, what, 3 weeks since we played?
Yeah?
Yeah.
A bit. I will...
I don't know. Did I? Am I forgetting something?
I will remind you that... I'm trying to find the gentleman's name. Radomir, the person who kind of helped you in the Undercity to find the actual location of Black Harbor, mentioned that petty crime had been on the rise.
That's right.
Within the
He
last
did mention
month
that.
or so, something like 4 to 6 weeks, it seemed like there had been an uptick in that way. I didn't have a ton of details, but that was something that he had mentioned in passing. As far as the remainder, when you were walking about, we didn't really describe it at the time, but it didn't seem like there was anything overtly wrong or off, and nothing like that you sensed was starkly different when you had left it, but that was something that had been mentioned in passing.
Tessin, I'll mention that then. Although one of the locals did mention an increase in crime recently, petty theft in particular. Is there something going on?
This is where that kind of like, you can see Angeline kind of perk up, and she says, "So you've heard about that too, then? It has been a bit odd. At first, yeah, a handful of extra crimes or people acting out of desperation in a small span doesn't seem like much, but it's been going on long enough that it does seem like there's something off about the city." And your mother chimes in. She says, "I've heard much the same. Been trying to find out more information about it, but to be honest, given that we live in a city that has so many different legends and curses and strange things happening throughout it, I don't think it's too unusual, to be honest. I do think I might have an idea as to why it's happening, though, and it has to do with where you might be headed for the next step of your journey."
Well, do tell.
She's kind of pausing here, like she's not sure how to proceed exactly. She says,
And Tessin will even kind of interject for a second and say, he'll kind of address Angeline, because my companion here, Lena Silverquist, princess of the Sowenwood, is on a quest known as the Conatus. We have been traveling across Aramea to a number of different shrines, elemental in nature, and the goal is to, well, it seems to be a bit vague in its totality, but balance, I believe, is the end goal. A test for someone of her unique lineage and power. And our quest has brought us here, back home, and specifically to the Cryptwood. Supposedly there is such a shrine located there, beneath it. I had never heard of such a thing, but if we are drawn to that place here at this time, there might very well be some sort of, well, mystical significance to it.
She seems to ponder this for a second. Angeline says, "I can't say that I've heard anything of that myself. I spent time there for my initiation, as you know," but she's kind of addressing the others as well. "Had to spend a week within the Cryptwood itself, and it's an unusual place. Sacred, but also off-putting at the same time. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me to hear that there might be something connected to it. I never saw this myself, but other past initiates talked about how they had heard whispers, especially in the evening, that seemed to come from the trees. A couple of them even mentioned seeing what they thought were specters of some sort, like on a particularly moonlit evening you could see souls that had passed roaming about there. That's why most people don't... That's why generally people don't spend time there unless they are required to. In fact, we encourage them not to. unless it's absolutely necessary, which is rare. There's no reason anyone would have business there, but all things considered, I could see there being a connection, but I kind of roamed about a bit as I was killing time in my week, and can't say I found any entrances or shrine locations in passing there.
It's the first I had ever heard of it, and I will say that in what we have seen of these shrines so far, they are typically well disguised, and well hidden.
She nods. She says, and it's a troublesome place. I'm decent at tracking, and I have a hard time getting lost in most situations. I've got some experience with it, but even I was tested by it. If I wanted to roam too free away from where my campsite was, there were times where I had to leave myself waypoints so I could make my way back, because if I was just going off of my instincts and my senses and what was around me, it felt like it was very easy to get lost. Kind of like the place had a mind of its own. It's strange to describe, but it wouldn't surprise me, and she's looking in Lena's direction, it wouldn't surprise me if it was impossible to find if the right person wasn't present to find it.
I nod and I say, yes, I believe that's the design of the shrines. Those who can't, who aren't meant to, God, what am I trying to say? Take part in the trial are not able to access it. It's only the, is the Fable Deer the actual name of the person, like, doing the
That's
trials?
your grandmother's name for you.
That's okay, for me, so I can't call that in here. Only the one who is participating in the trials can gain access to the shrine to begin with. So that doesn't surprise me that the crypt would. It seems like it has a defense mechanism almost.
At this point, Lady Tyrese chimes in. She says, what troubles me with all this is not the only secret about this area between the Cryptwood and the city itself that you probably were not aware of, Tessian, nor your sisters. And she kind of eyes the three of you. Dog dinner.
Mike, it's happened.
Yummy!
That's true.
We're on camera at the same
They're
time.
in the same place.
You did it.
That could be past footage, though. We could have recorded that in the beginning, and if you're not here, you don't know.
Sorry.
That's fine. She says, if I'm being frank, my suspicion is that the shrine is located near another ancient relic of sorts, deep beneath the city, that you could probably access from the Cryptwood, given Lena's connection to this journey, and the fact that, as you mentioned, these places seem to be somewhat shrouded from people who are not supposed to be there. But I have an alternate route to propose to you. You could certainly go to the Cryptwood and investigate it, but I feel like it would take time to find the right location, although your ability to sense it might help that somewhat. And she's sort of playing with this ring on her hand. That Tessian, obviously you know the family crest, but it's some of these days, one of these days I'll get a second monitor and I'll just be able to pull these things up instead of that, but has this crest on it, and a much smaller version, obviously.
Cool.
Nice.
She slides it off of her finger and sort of like holds it up to the rest of you. She says, far beneath this city, which is an undertaking unto itself, considering some of the caverns and catacombs that weave beneath it, some of which you may have even seen today in your travels across the city, there is a massive subterranean tree. That tree does not often get visitors. There is a way to access There's a way to access it if you wanted to take this ring. A hidden Jesus, why can I not talk today? A hidden passage accessible from the royal crypt that has not been used in some time. Could present its own dangers, but my suspicion is, having been neglected for some time, given some of the more spiritual and ethereal energies that surround this city and have for some time, that you might well indeed be making a journey either through the cryptwood or the other path to what my mother only referred to as Black Arbor. And your sisters both look kind of puzzled at this too. This seems to be the first they're hearing of it.
And Tessian doesn't say that, but that's 100% what's on his face. Like this is interesting and very new.
I'll just confirm real quick. And this tree, it's beneath the cryptwood.
It's sort of between the city and the cryptwood itself. It's probably underneath the cryptwood, yes. You can get to it from underneath the city, but I would imagine the paths would head in that direction, yes.
I turn to Karash and say, we have to visit the Black Arbor in Black Harbor. Do we also need to visit the Black Barber? And will there be any other rhymes that Tessian has not included us with? And I look at Karash expectantly, like...
We will also be visiting the Cryptwood via the Crypt.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like whoever named this place or made these names up, it was just a little bit, I don't know, childish. It's odd.
Well, you didn't laugh. It appears no matter what your intelligence is, you don't find me particularly funny, Karash.
Oh, that was it. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because I went like
Aww.
Black Barber, and I like did the fingers at you.
It's very, very funny. I'm sorry.
Now I feel like you're
Trying to
forced to
focus.
laugh, and now it's weird.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the plot.
Lady Tyrese
You
says,
sure you can always make fun of how everything was named some more.
No, just like the
Yeah, who
rhyme.
named these
That's
things?
really it.
to be fair, Black Arbor is not Tessian or
That is
Jason's
not
fault.
me. That was not me. I'll have you know.
I did
And
that very early on because I thought it was funny.
I mean, I gave my dad Faust. That's like the most edgelord name you could possibly think of. So.
Look, it all was just because the family name is Black, so it was just simple. Okay, there were simple people that lived here. So the Blacks owned the harbor. It was Black Harbor. They had a keep. It was the Black Keep. Not because it was necessarily black, but because the Blacks owned it. It's that easy.
It's not because of Rebecca Black. That's ridiculous.
That's 100% ridiculous.
What a twist, though.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out in 10 years, Rebecca Black falls through a spatial portal. This is that campaign.
People have been waiting for there to be actually anachronistic things in this campaign. Well, here's your chance.
This is it.
Mhm.
This was it the whole time. I've been in it
waiting.
since episode 1, and she's my ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
For 3 years, I've been keeping this secret in the bag.
The trumpets start playing like the intro to Friday, and we're like, wait a minute.
What
Tessian's
day is
sister
it?
pulls out an iPhone.
What comes after Saturday? Shit. Lady Tyrese says, "This is a place that I have never visited. I've only heard by reputation from my own mother. It's a place that probably no one has visited since the last time the Conatus came through here. My suspicion is, seeing as nobody has made it since Aurelia, that now we're looking at hundreds of years, 200-300 perhaps. Your grandmother," and she's looking at Lena again, "was not particularly specific on the how long, but the implication seemed to be somewhere in that range. And I'm wondering if perhaps because the last few Conatuses have failed to make it this far for various reasons, if there's not some sort of imbalance in the mana that surrounds Black Arbor. And if that's not what's causing things in the city to be different than they should be as well, if there's not some influence over the people here. It's tricky because there's always some underhanded dealings happening around the city. As long as they stay within a certain freedom, we turn our head the other direction at times. There are understandings for the people who live here that while you can deal in certain things that other places might frown upon, there are also limitations to it. And it's not like we allow people to roam about the streets and murder or kill or pillage, but I do wonder if this increase in crime is because of the tree itself becoming unsettled. So I do think there will be good that comes out of this beyond how it helps you and your group with your journey. At the very least, investigating it could find that there's no connection at all, and then we may have to start searching other avenues, but I have a pretty good gut instinct on things. And to me, this could make sense. The only part that's puzzling to me is I don't understand why just recently. If what Annetta said was true, and it has been quite some time since someone came through here for the Conatus, I don't understand why this would be flaring up only in the last few weeks.
Well, Tessie kind of clears his throat.
And I'm looking at you as you do this.
Given that you are all close family members to me, I feel I must warn you that there may be grander events at play behind the scenes of a great many political moves currently. I don't know what you've heard of any of the drama in Waychester with Faust Dryden, but suffice to say that we have evidence that there may indeed be another material plane like ours, some alternate schismed reality. We have seen glimpses of it, piercing through our own, brushing up against it, small windows and fractures, and we have met people seemingly descendant from those who came from this place. There have been holes, and we have evidence to believe that there may be forces from that side conspiring to work against elements here. We don't know their true intention or their purpose or what it is that truly lies on the other side, but we know that there are massive planar forces and pressures at work right now. And if there was any one thing that could shift a delicate balance in the natural world, I personally believe that that might be it.
At this point, as your mom seems to be just mulling this over, like Amalia is now like leaned forward in her seat, just super enraptured with this part of the story. Like this is all like super cool to her. Other planes and dimensions and weird things happening. This is all. This is the shit she's here for. And you can kind of see like she wants to ask questions, but she's sort of content just to listen for the time being. But like, there's this sort of like bottled up energy. You can kind of see her like bopping in her chair a little bit. Like, this is all really cool. She's ignoring the dangerous part of it and is just interested in the weird part of it.
And to fill the silence, Tessian continues a little bit more to say, although we are working with the Empress currently to resolve some of these issues, I will say this to all of you here, given that you represent our family and the city. If you are approached or you learn that anyone has been approached by Faust Dryden recently or in the time coming soon, you should be wary. That may not be the Faust Dryden that fathered this man here. It may be another Faust Dryden, and we are not entirely sure what he is planning on doing.